my name is Abigail and welcome back to Polyglot Progress. Today is January 1st, 2023. Happy New Year. I ended up spending New Year's quite unexpectedly in Philadelphia, but as you can see, as of about 20 minutes ago, I am finally back home. So with today being a weird day, getting started with some of my 2023 habits and goals and things has kind of been put on hold a little bit. It's kind of more so gonna start tomorrow, I think. But I did do a little bit of language learning on the plane. I read a French article, did like half a page of French grammar stuff that I need to do for the French class that I'm taking starting in 2 weeks, and did like 30 minutes of Glossica and Bulgarian, just what I had downloaded to my phone. So I feel like all things considered, it's been a pretty good start language-wise to this new year. As I mentioned in my 2023 goals video, I am switching to doing monthly goals this year. So let's talk a little bit about my language goals for January. For French, I'm actually starting a class with the Alliance Française this month. I'm taking like a C1 and up conversation and grammar review class. And so this month I just want to kind of settle into that class and stay on top of the coursework and all of that. I'd also like to finish listening to the audiobook I'm currently listening to in French, which is the first book in the Twilight saga. I have not read these books since I went through my like Twilight phase in middle school, and so this has just been so much fun. And then for Bulgarian, I really want to get myself back into a consistent study routine. So I'd like to work on getting myself to like a near daily Bulgarian study habit again. And one way I want to push myself to do that is to try to finish the B1 textbook I'm currently working on. I'm like 25% of the way into the book, maybe more like 30 or 35% of the way. So it's definitely doable. It is a very quick moving book, but at the same time, because it's a quick moving book, if I don't feel like I have really absorbed the material, I don't really want to just like fly through it and be done with it. I'd rather spend some more time doing some exercises elsewhere or reviewing the material with my tutor before I just like keep moving on. But my goal is, if I can keep up with the material, to just get through the whole book. And then my last Bulgarian goal this month is to finish the A1 low Glossica course. I am over 80% of the way through this course, so this should be really, really easy. But I really want to do it because Glossica has really, really been helping me with my listening comprehension. I also really want to finish the Glossica course this year, so this is going to be my start with that. And then for all of my other languages, my goal is just to do something in all of my other languages at least once a week. I do have ideas for things that I want to do. Like, I would really love to work on the Aspekte Neu B2 book for German. I would really love to potentially take some Spanish classes again. I am reviewing stuff on Lifeprint right now for ASL. I'd like to keep watching Scum in Italian. I've got ideas, but I'm keeping it vague just because I thought about setting things like a certain number of chapters for the Aspekte Neu book for German, but because I am starting this new French class, and just in general my life is about to go from like being not a lot of things during the holidays other than holiday stuff to being back at derby practice and back at work and taking this French class and all of these things kind of piling up, I just don't want to overwhelm things with another goal for a different language that's not really my priority this month. But I do have ideas for things that I want to work on, and in general I know my goals for the year, so as I get time I'll just kind of go with the flow and see what I feel like doing and what I feel like my languages could use in the moment. But I would like to get some contact with the 4 other than French and Bulgarian at least once a week, just so I'm making sure that I'm keeping up with them while they're not necessarily my priority. So we're a little under halfway through the month. I have not filmed a lot for 2 reasons. The first reason being that I had in my head that I really wanted to film more like study and using language clips before I sat and talked more. And then the second reason being that I haven't really done that much, which sucks to say. Honestly, I started out the year really strong. I had like an 8-day streak for the first 8 days of the month on Polyglogger, but unfortunately I am kind of back to not really doing very much, and I'm also back to not feeling great, which is part of the other reason that I haven't been filming. When this little slump that I'm in right now kind of started, I really thought that it was like I was having a bad day or like a bad weekend and that it was gonna pass, so I was just gonna film kind of once I was done with that. But I'm honestly just not feeling too great right now. and I'm hoping that it passes soon. But unfortunately, this means that a lot of the things that I kind of mentioned in my 2022 recap, like feeling like I was kind of falling into bad habits, like spending too much time on my phone and wasn't really doing the things that I cared about, and that creating this kind of bad cycle for me, and just overall not feeling great, are now things that are also kind of happening right now. So I'm really hoping that I can kind of turn things around this weekend. It is Thursday right now. I have Monday off from work, and I think that I very much so need that extra day to rest and to work on some of my own things. And I also, both really excitingly and also terrifyingly, have my first French class this weekend. I'm really excited to start taking this class and to really put effort into the things that I want to work on in French, and I'm also honestly excited to have my first class just so that it's done with. I, for whatever reason, just have this thing with French classes where I'm always convinced that I'm going to get to the class and the teacher is going to be like, yeah, you absolutely don't belong at this level, like you need to leave. And it's this weird imposter syndrome-y fear that I somehow developed and has just stuck with me for way too long now. And it's so founded in nothing. Okay, worst case scenario, I get to the class, the teacher says, you absolutely don't belong here, you need to go down a level. Objectively, that is not bad. I know that my French speaking has gotten super rusty since I graduated college, and I know that I would really like to polish it up and really get it to be at the level that my other skills are at. That is why I'm taking a class. So if I'm asked to go down a level, because that is more appropriate for the things that I need to work on, that's a good thing. Like, it's good to be placed in the level that you need to be placed in. Also, I didn't pick this class just on my own, and the placement test was exclusively a spoken interview. But despite having been told to sign up for that class because my level was appropriate to take that class, and despite having already done the homework for this class and having found it totally fine, I'm just really in my head about it, and I'm really worried about it, and I'm looking forward to having the first one done. But for now, at least, things are not starting off the way that I necessarily wanted them to. Or I guess they did kind of start off more the way that I wanted them to, but they're now kind of headed back in the direction I do not want them to be going in. So I had my French class on Saturday, and it went as everyone in my life expected it to, which is totally fine. And it wasn't even fine in the way that many of my language classes are, where it's like, yes, this is the right level for me, but it's really pushing me. The class didn't feel difficult. It just felt like having a conversation with people, which is what it should feel like. I definitely neglected my other languages this week because I was kind of stressed. I feel like knowing that this French thing was coming up, I felt kind of like I couldn't really work on other languages, and if I was going to be putting time into language things, it needed to be French, which isn't the case. I totally could have done things in other languages and it would have been fine, but that was kind of the spiral that I was in this past week. So today my goal is to do a bit of Bulgarian. I definitely have been neglecting my Bulgarian, not just because of this French class, just this whole year so far. I think I'm going to work on the B1 textbook that I've been working my way through, and I'm hoping to finish this month. I also think I'm going to try to read another page in the novel that I'm reading, and I also would like to try to do something with my listening comprehension. So potentially I will do some Glossica today. I also may try to look for a new show to watch. I'm currently not watching anything in Bulgarian, and I do know that I've had trouble in the past finding anything to watch, so I don't know if I'll necessarily watch something in Bulgarian today, but outside of my kind of like language studies, I would also potentially like to look around and find something for the future. According to Polylogger, I've spent 11 hours 32 minutes doing things in the month of January, and we're currently on the 19th day of the month. So it's not that much under an hour a day, but I can say firsthand that many of the days where I have studied, it's been more like 3 to 4 hours of study slash doing other things. I haven't like actually sat down and studied for 3 to 4 hours, which is good and great and fine, but it's only been a few days of me doing that and then a lot of days of me not really doing anything. And it's a little hard for me not to feel really disappointed with myself and frustrated by the fact that I haven't really done much. I am not one to believe that New Year's is the time where everything changes and like you have to set New Year's resolutions then and change everything then, and that everything will be different on January 1st. Obviously, I'm still living the same life. I've got the same job right now, same schedule pretty much right now as I did at the end of last year, so nothing really should have changed. But I just feel like I had a lot of personal realizations at the end of last year and things that I was doing to feel better in general, and it was working. Throughout December, I was feeling much better mentally, and I was getting a lot more of the things that I care about done. And so I was really excited for January to be this time where a new year started and I could just be like this throughout the whole year. But the past 2 weeks have definitely not. There are a few situational things in my life that I know have been taking a toll on my mental health, and I've been aware of those things, and I'm trying to kind of change those things. They're not totally in my control at the moment, but I am really trying not to focus on all of that, and I'm really trying to instead focus on the fact that, like I said, New Year's isn't the end-all be-all for new things. I'm gonna be out of town with friends for much of this weekend, so I don't really expect myself to do much, if any, kind of language-related stuff, but I'm really hoping that this can kind of be a nice, relaxing thing for me and get me out of my apartment and out of my head a little bit, and then be able to come back and really just kind of start over again on Sunday. And with that, I would like to be a lot better about studying Bulgarian. I would like to really put in some time with French, both for my French class, but also just kind of on my own. I was thinking about taking the DOF the other day, and I just had this realization of how much I hold myself back when it comes to all of these things with French. I worried so much going into this French class feeling like I was gonna get kicked out because I wasn't the proper level, and I've worried so much about taking these French exams, and all of it is this kind of doubt that I have the level that I do. And I realize that this definitely happens with my other languages too. So just having this realization in general, I think, is something for me to keep an eye on. Being humble definitely isn't the worst thing to be, but I definitely, I think, could think a little bit higher of myself when it comes to some of my language levels. It wouldn't be awful for me to be a little cockier with things. If I do register for a class that's too high for my level, I can learn what I can. Maybe I have to drop down a level, but like, I'll have gotten something out of that class. I don't need to try to put myself in places where I know I'm at that level. I can try things out a little bit more, I think. So it's almost been a whole week now. I just have not had a chance to sit down and talk about this, but my Bulgarian lesson on Friday was so good. I went into it really expecting it to not be a very good lesson for me. I had not really gotten to study as much Bulgarian as I had wanted for the start of this year, and I was just expecting it to kind of be one of those lessons where we really just have to go back over things that we've been over a million times because suddenly things just aren't clicking for me again. But that is absolutely not what happened. So usually our lessons are like 15-ish minutes of chatting in Bulgarian, and then we'll kind of move into a more structured lesson, either working through a textbook or kind of working with other resources and materials that we've been using. And our lessons then, as a result, are kind of somewhat in Bulgarian, but all of the explanation is in English and occasionally in Spanish, which is part of why one of my goals for this year is to kind of move to having my lessons entirely in Bulgarian. But this time we were talking together at the beginning of the lesson, and it just kept going, and I was kind of like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have done like a 20-minute conversation in Bulgarian. Wow, I'm gonna have done a 30-minute conversation in Bulgarian. And then we just spoke Bulgarian for the full hour. I was definitely super surprised. I have felt like 15 minutes is my max. Like when we speak for 15 minutes at the start of the lesson, I feel like I have said everything that I can possibly say in the conversation, and we are stopping at 15 minutes, not because that is the time we stop speaking, but because that is like when the Bulgarian conversation has run its course and we need to move into other materials. So I was just really surprised that I was able to keep going for an hour. This is definitely the longest conversation I've ever had in Bulgarian. I am so proud of myself for doing it. It was, of course, not a very complicated conversation, but that's totally fine. I really do not expect myself, of course, to be at the point right now in Bulgarian where I could discuss these more complicated topics. I really didn't even expect myself to be able to do this much. So I'm really excited about that. It was a very good win early on this year, especially because I feel like overall I've been very disappointed in how this year is going so far for me. I also realized that I think I've been putting a pressure on myself when it comes to YouTube with my progress so far this year. I think I felt like I was going to be kind of like letting people down, and more so like I was kind of giving false expectations at the start of this video by being like, this is gonna be a better year, and then kind of being in this place right now. And I had to have a little chat with myself about the fact that, while sure, I did state at the start of this video that I really felt like it was gonna be a better year and I was really taking all these steps to make it a better year and stuff, it's not leading people astray or ruining the arc of the video or whatever if now this is how I am right now, because this is also just my life. And I would love more than anything to be feeling a lot better than I have been right now. I'd definitely say that honestly this second half of the month so far has been a time where I've been feeling even worse than I did last year, unfortunately. So I definitely would love to be doing better and to have this just be a video in which things go really well for me. But it's life, and I am again taking steps to feel a bit better, and hopefully as the months go on we'll instead get that kind of arc over the course of this year. With that, we are just about done with the first month of this year. So far this month, I have logged a total of 23 hours and 4 minutes in Polylogger, which means I did not really spend as many hours as I hoped to and as I kind of need to be on track for my year goals this month. My goal for the year is to hit 700 hours, and my kind of stretch goal with that is to hit 1,000 hours either studying or doing things in my target languages, which means that if I want to kind of like average everything out, I need to be doing more like over 2 hours a day. And 25 hours over the course of 31 days obviously averages out to be a little bit under an hour every single day. And I feel like that makes sense. I definitely feel emotionally like I didn't really do as much in and with my target languages as I would have liked to this month. In general, I feel like a lot of the kind of things that I set out to do this new year, I kind of did well for the first week with, then had like a period of 2 weeks that weren't so great, and then really got back on track with at the end of the month. So I'm not surprised that those are the numbers. And while my goal for the year is 700 to 1,000 hours, and while that does mean I need to be doing a little over 2 hours a day to hit that, the reason I set number goals is never for the number necessarily itself. It's more so because setting number goals is a good way to get me to use that time and intentionally put in the work. So the fact that I didn't hit 62 hours or even hit 31 hours is not a failure, and I would rather ease myself into kind of building that habit. But yeah, big feelings for this month is that I do feel like the beginning of the month went really well. I feel like the end of the month has been going really, really well, but definitely in the kind of middle there was a big slump. But because the end of this month has been going so well, I definitely do feel really good about February. In terms of my other goals though, I wanted to finish the audiobook I'm listening to in French. I didn't, but I only have about 5 hours left, I want to say. So I definitely can get through that pretty soon. I honestly just didn't listen to it for most of the month. I was really bad with reading this month. I have finished 2 books, but they've been in the last 2 days. And they were both books that I have kind of been reading all throughout January in very slow chunks. And one of them was something that I started back in 2021. So overall, I would like to do better with that. One of my goals for this year is to kind of be more consistent and sustainable with the way that I read, instead of doing these bursts where I read like 4 books and then not reading for a month. And so far I have not done great with that, considering I read 2 books in 2 days and nothing else for the rest of the month. So February, that is definitely going to be a goal. I wanted to finish the Bulgarian B1 book that I was working on. I was like 25% of the way through, and now I'm like 30% of the way through. I honestly got stuck on one part. There was just a new grammar point introduced that I just could not wrap my head around, and to be honest with you, I still haven't. But today I worked on it a little bit, and then I decided to just see see what was after that in the book and see if maybe I should just bookmark it, skip it, come back to it later on. And that is definitely the answer. I don't know why I didn't do that sooner, because the section afterwards I flew through today. It was all review. So I've bookmarked it. I'll come back to it at a later time, but for now I'm gonna keep working through that book and perhaps I can finish it this next month. I did, however, finish the Glossica A1 Low course. I am really excited about that. I have moved on to the A1 High course. In theory, that also should be review, but there definitely have been new words, and my listening comprehension just needs more of that, like, actual real words I know mashed together in new ways kind of practice. I wanted to get back to near daily Bulgarian study. That did not happen. In general, I wasn't doing near daily language stuff for a long time, but that has been consistent for the last 2 weeks, I'd say. And it was pretty good at the start of the month. It really was that middle chunk again that it didn't go too well. And lastly, I wanted to use every single language at least once a week. That also did not happen, but it so could have. So that one I think is also going to be something that I try to do next month, because I really love that as an idea. It sounds like a great way for me to work on maintaining my languages and also just continuing to be more creative with the ways that I use them and finding ways that they can be a part of my life even when they're not the priority language. So hopefully I can be a little bit more consistent with all of the languages next month. And yeah, that brings us to the end of January. As always, I would love to know how your January went, what you got up to when it comes to your language learning, anything else that you want to share. And my camera died, so I guess we're doing the outro for this from my phone. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video, and remember, practice makes progress.